Hi, everybody. So I'm really excited. We are here to do a new podcast that we're trying out for the first time. And we are going to be doing a pitch session, kind of like what you might see on Shark Tank or something like that, where we have ideas for new animated films. And we're going to do 4 rounds where we pitch these ideas. And so we will try to decide what are the best ideas that we have. And so it's going to be a lot of fun. And I'm joined by my friends Josh and Mark. And you guys want to introduce yourselves, starting with Josh?
Hi, I'm Josh from thelovepirate.net. Right about, I'm not an animation person like these two as much. I love animation, but they've got me beat on expertise. But I write about all kinds of movies and TV shows and stuff.
Yeah. And Mark?
Hi everyone, I'm Ibrahim, aka Mark Brown. You probably know me from my blogs, the Animation Commendation, and my live action Disney project. I'm a big animation fan since I've been, a little kid, and I've met so many people in the animation fandom through my blogs. And I'm hoping to have fun on this podcast today.
Yeah, this can be really fun. So this is our first attempt to try to do this. So please excuse us. There's some sort of kinks along the way. And so I have the chat room open. So if you want to add in your thoughts about these pitches and which one you would pick and which one you like, then please do. And it looks like we already have somebody in the chat room, so that's awesome. And so what we're going to do is we're going to have 4 rounds of pitches. And each person is going to present whatever they feel is relevant to sort of selling their story, whether it's the studio that would make it, the style, the director, whatever you think would make this an appealing idea. Then what we're going to do is we're going to vote on which out of the 3 that we like the most, and you can't vote for yourself. So we will have 4 rounds and a winner kind of out of each round. So and then we'll go on from there. But so I will start, and my first pitch is for the Disney Toons studio, and it is a Star Wars Rebels Ahsoka animated film. Star Wars Rebels is a very popular television show. It does very well for Disney XD, and of course Star Wars, anything Star Wars is money in the bag. And Ahsoka is a very popular character who has appeared on 2 of the shows, both Disney both Star Wars Clone Wars and Rebels. And so she has a following. People really like her. When the Ahsoka Funko Pop came out, it did very well. It sold very well. And I think that Star Wars and Disney really wants strong female characters, and this is a very strong female character who has a relationship with Darth Vader, with Anakin, that she actually trained with him, and she is somebody that is a complex character. She's somebody who's not just a Mary Sue, whatever. She struggles with her allegiances and where she's at, and so she's somebody I think who could be really interesting to both adults and to children. Because it's from a Disney XD property, it would appeal to children and to adults, and because it's Star Wars, it would appeal to both. And we already have this mysterious spot in the timeline for a Disney Toons animated film that we don't know what it is. So perfect, we can just put in Star Wars right there. And the director of Star Wars Rebels, Dave Filoni, he could easily produce and direct his first Star Wars film. It would be an animated film, which would be right in his wheelhouse. And so I think it would just have everything to be in a completely successful animated film.
I like it.
So that's my pitch. So do you want to go next, Josh?
Sure. Well, along the same lines, mine will be a Disney Toon also. But instead of Star Wars, it's Indiana Jones. So we know that I love Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, but I know most people don't. And we know that there's an Indiana Jones 5 in production, or in pre-production, or script planning, or whatever.
Yeah.
But Harrison Ford is going to continue to get older, and you can't continue to film live action movies without moving them further in time to compensate for his age. He's not going to be 80 years old and set in the 1940s anymore. But with animation, he could still do the voice, but you could set it back in the 40s. He could be fighting the Nazis again, the time period everybody likes. You could even bring back John Rhys Davies, who does Sala, and some of the older voice actors, but set in the younger time period. And if they want to keep doing live action movies, you could alternate. You could do a live action movie with an older Harrison Ford, and then he could do a voice for a younger Indiana Jones in an animated film. And that would allow, it'd be really cool for me from the live action standpoint to look at how does a hero age, and how does he, when he's not as capable as he was before, what kind of adventures could he go on? That would allow the live action films to be more experimental, but to give the sort of rip-roaring adventures that everyone likes from the older Indiana Jones in animation.
Okay.
I don't know if you saw. Sorry, I don't know if you saw this or not, but they made this guy made an animated Indiana Jones short the other day.
Yep, I saw that, and that's kind of film. Yeah, it looks like that. It's kind of in the style of like the opening credits of an animated TV show. I thought that style was great, but I wouldn't want to see Indiana Jones on TV because you never get Harrison Ford to do the voice. But for a big screen picture, I think that'd be cool.
So you would want this to continue on the canon? You wouldn't want it to be a story of him young. You would want it to continue on the story at the age of the end of 5.
No, I'd like them to continue his story with 5 and beyond in live action. But then these would be sort of midquels. You could set them anywhere in the timeline you wanted. So it would, you could, because like Temple of Doom takes place before Raiders of the Lost Ark.
That's true.
But you could set it anywhere in those timeline of the original 3, fighting Nazis, going after whatever. But with more of the the actual actors just doing voices, and it's easier and a lot cheaper.
Would you do it like 2D or CG? Or
you got to do 2D. I don't think CG you'd be able to capture the look well enough to crank these out at the rate that Disney probably would want to. So I'd like to see them almost exactly in the style of, like Mark brought up, that hand-drawn animated short that the guy released a couple months ago.
Oh man, that would be so fun. I'd totally see that.
So they could get Sean Connery out of retirement to do the voice of Henry
oh
Jones
my
Sr.
gosh, I would totally see that.
I like the idea too, because I think Harrison Ford is one of those celebrities who hasn't done any sort of voice acting at all yet.
Exactly.
Yeah, I wonder why. He hasn't done any.
Probably nobody's offered him.
I thought they would get him for the Lego movie when they had that scene with him and what's his name, Lando, but they got someone else to play him.
Yeah.
Oh, he'd be a pretty easy voice to imitate, I think, if they had to.
Well, and that could also, at some point, he's going to be too old to want to keep doing it, and it makes the transition easier if you're an animated series at that point, for just bringing in a different voice actor, rather than doing a reboot with Chris Pratt or something, and it's too jarring for people.
Or Sheila LaBeouf or something.
All right. So, Mark, what's your idea?
My turn now. Okay. I don't think I went too far in depth as you guys, but let's see how this goes. Hey. So my number one pitch right now is something not for Disney Toon Studios, but for the canon itself, the Walt Disney Featured Animation Studio itself. And what I've wanted for a long time is a musical full-length animated adaptation of Moby Dick. I think Moby Dick is one of those literary masterpieces that it's been portrayed in film a couple of times, but I don't think any one of the adaptations has ever cemented itself as an everlasting classic, except for like the Gregory Peck version. But even that, you could argue, isn't as famous as some other classics. So I think if we do this version, we can get younger kids and a new generation involved into Moby Dick and Herman Melville's work. And one thing in particular that I imagine in this musical is a Hellfire type song sequence that Captain Ahab would sing. I imagine it on a dark night, and Ahab is standing on the deck looking out into the sea, and he's like starting to sing a song about his hatred for the whale for Moby Dick. And it starts out very slow, and the water's calm. And then as he gets more enraged and more, his fury comes out, and the waves start getting bigger and bigger, and the ship goes side to side. And he doesn't even notice all this. He's just still singing with his vengeance. And then it ends on like a crescendo, and everything kind of flattens after that. So,
do you have an idea of who you would want to do the music?
That's a good question. I mean, Alan Menken, I like to get him back. I don't know about lyricist though.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my pitch there.
That would be amazing. I mean, with how real they can do water now, I mean, that could be really cool.
Yeah, especially like you said, with the water scenes and all that the technology we have now compared to like back in the 60s or 70s or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could really see that. I had not even thought of that. That's a really good idea. We did a funny comment. Matthew Arnhold in the chat room says, "Please tell me the whale sings."
Hey, if you want the whale to sing, we have a cameo from the whale who sang in the Met.
Yeah, that's right. Wally the whale, right?
Or Willie or whatever.
Yeah, Willie. Yeah, interesting. Do you have an idea of who you'd want to be Captain Ahab, a voice?
I was thinking about that myself. I don't know. I mean, if Gregory Peck were alive, I'd like him to do it, but
I know
he's alive, so I don't know.
Patrick Stewart made a good Ahab in a TV version.
Yeah,
oh, really?
That one, yeah.
I wonder who is Gregory Peckish.
I don't know. I don't know who's a Gregory Peck of
We don't
nowadays.
have Gregory Pecks anymore.
No.
Sadly, no. I feel the best choice would be like a seasoned voice actor who'd put on a voice similar to Gregory Peck.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess it'd be hard to sell the movie on that. But
you could get. I mean, because Ahab's not the protagonist, Ishmael's the protagonist. So you get somebody more famous to play Ishmael.
I'm thinking Christian Bale for Ishmael.
There you go. And somebody, Ishmael and Queequeg.
I mean, Tom Hardy might not actually be a bad choice.
Ooh.
For Ahab.
Yeah.
For Ahab.
Can he sing?
I don't know. Isn't Ahab a little bit older though? Like he's supposed to be in his 50s or something.
Oh, but it's voice acting.
Well, true.
He was in a movie this year called it's called The London Road or London something, where he sings for just very brief. It's a very unusual film. About this crime spree in London, and it's all done. It's a complete musical. Like every line is sung. It's very unusual, and it actually they take the track or the recordings or whatever from these police interviews, and they make like the actual what they actually said, and they turn it into a musical. So it's a very kind of cool, different experimental film. But anyway, he is in that for just a second. He plays like a taxi cab driver, and he sings. And
I gotta look that up. That sounds interesting.
Yeah, it's an interesting film. But Matthew says Tom Hardy might need subtitles though with most of his recent performances. That's true. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you would necessarily actually really need a famous voice for Disney, because if you think about like say Moana, most of the characters, the voices aren't that famous. Just
you need one big name.
Yeah, just one big man. So maybe Christian Bale for Ishmael.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just feel Ahab should be pretty well known too.
Yeah, probably. Christopher Plummer, he would be great.
Oh, that would be great.
Has Michael Caine played Ahab yet? Oh no, he was in 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, right? He was Nemo. Captain Nemo, I think.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah,
haven't seen
that. He and Patrick Dempsey were in that movie.
He could probably pull it off. He could. Just wouldn't want to get someone like Christopher Walken or somebody like that. That would be terrible. That would be terrible.
No.
Oh man, these are good ideas.
Yeah.
I really liked. I was gonna do like. Did you guys have any questions about my idea?
Yeah, I was just gonna mention when you said it was an Ahsoka film. I thought you meant soca film, as in related to the soca music of Caribbean. I was imagining this musical of Caribbean music, and then you explain, oh no, that's the character.
Yeah, it's a character.
Well, I had a question. What time period would it be set in? Would it be set during Rebels?
It's hard because then they would have to kind of, but it would actually make sense because at least in this season of Rebels, she's been gone for most of the season. So maybe they could make it work. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's a lot we don't know about her. I mean, there's a new Ahsoka novel, so maybe that kind of fills in. That of her time in between when she left training with Anakin and became a rebel. Like, we don't know a ton. I guess my hunch is to do it during that period.
Yeah.
When she was trying to kind of figure out what she wanted, I think would be interesting.
Well, and it's interesting because the Clone Wars movie that came out before the show had Ahsoka in it, but nobody really knew who she was. She wasn't this hugely popular character, and the movie was kind of a failure. Mm-hmm. So it'd be interesting to revisit that now that she's this hugely, insanely popular character.
That's true. My one concern with both of your pitches, so maybe answer this, is how do you think that both would appeal to girls?
Josh, you go first.
Okay. I mean, Indy's always had these female characters, but you could bring Marion back and make her more of an equal partner. She's such a strong character in Raiders of the Lost Ark. She didn't get as good of a storyline in Crystal Skull, but you could always give him, with setting it in any time period, you could give him any sort of female partner and make it somebody a match for him, rather than like a Kate Capshaw who's just sort of tagging along and screaming the whole time. Give him a female version of Indiana Jones as a partner.
Hannah Montana Jones.
Montana Jones.
Hey, I kind of like that actually, Montana Jones. That's good.
It'd have to be Montana Smith or something.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they'd be brother and sister or something.
Yeah, so you'd have her be an older, like a love interest type character for Indy.
Somebody who can more than hold her own with Indy.
Okay, interesting. What about you?
I guess for mine, almost all the characters in Moby Dick are males, right? So maybe we could do something like the Jungle Book did, change one of the characters. They changed Kai into a female for the live-action Disney movie that came out this year, and the planned Warner Brothers movie that's coming out in 2018. They're doing the same thing. So maybe we could do something like that. Yeah. Maybe even change Captain Ahab to be a woman. That might be interesting.
That would be interesting. Gender swap is all the rage.
I'm not a big fan of gender swaps where they change all the characters, but like one or two, I think it could work.
Yeah, I don't think.
Maybe we could change Ishmael, the male.
Yeah, change him to I don't think being male is intrinsic to the characters. I don't think anything would be lost by changing any one of them or more to female.
Well, I guess the only thing about it that would be intrinsic is that it'd be way less likely to have a female on a boat back then.
Yeah.
That was bad luck, right?
Or
according to
yeah, interesting. So, did you guys have any other questions?
Maybe Ishmael could have been a female who disguised as a male and went on, or something like that.
Yeah.
And Josh, do you have questions on either of our pitches?
No, I think they're both
good. Okay. All right. This is tough.
So we got to vote now, right? We can't vote for ourselves.
We do have our chat room is voted for mine.
Right.
Well, I'm the least knowledgeable about Star Wars of us three.
So, it's tough. It's always hard for me to vote against music, anything with music.
Well, I guess I'll go first if
you go first.
Your mind. I'll put my vote for Josh's idea of animated Indiana Jones. when I saw what this guy did, I forget his name, but he's like a Dutch graphic artist, and he made this live action animated. I think it's even full length independent like Indiana Jones movie.
2 minutes, I think, is all it was.
Okay, I don't know what it was, but I was like, I wanted to see that on the big screen. So, Josh, should bring that to life.
All right. What about you, Josh?
I think I'll vote for Mark. I love Moby Dick. Read it a bunch of times, and I think it would make a great musical adaptation.
And if this was a DreamWorks picture, they'd probably put in some joke about the character Starbuck and then make some joke with Starbucks Cafe.
Yeah. None of that.
Since Disney, we're gonna throw that out.
Okay.
So you're the tiebreaker.
It's hard for me to vote against a Disney musical based on Moby Dick with songs by Alan Menken. I mean, so I'm gonna go with Moby Dick.
Woo!
So
yeah.
Good job.
Yeah.
At least I got one vote from the chat room.
So all these go straight to the Disney headquarters, right? And they get these ideas.
They know what's good for them.
We'll submit it when we're done.
Okay.
I'm gonna tweet it to John Laster right when we're finished. Okay,
and it's public domain, so it's got to be cheap too, right?
Yeah.
That's right. That's true. Good point. Okay, so my next pitch is actually for DreamWorks. I think the DreamWorks needs to get off the comedy train. I don't like very few of their comedies I like. And I like almost all of their dramas. I like Rise of the Guardians. I like all the dragon movies. I like the Kung Fu Panda movies. They're kind of comedies, I guess. But I like Prince of Egypt. I like almost all their dramas that I've seen. And so I think that's where their strength is. That's where they're, the artists really get to express who they are. And yet they keep pumping out these horrible comedies. And so I think there is a book called The True Confessions of Charlotte Doyle by a guy named Avi. And this is a Newbery Award winning book. It's like 25 years old. It's been around forever. I don't know why it hasn't been made into a movie. And it's about this girl named Charlotte Doyle in like the 1800s or something, like 1860s or something. And she gets sent on this ship to go from Britain to the US to be with her family. And she's like this really sort of prissy girl. And when she finds out that she's actually on a pirate ship. And so she has to kind of learn, and she sort of becomes a pirate. And I guess it's 1832 is when it is actually. And I think this has so many elements that would be very attractive as an idea. You've got exciting maritime adventure. You've got pirates. Like I think almost all of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies have made $1 billion or close to. And so clearly there is still an interest in pirates, and people just like pirates. And you have a strong woman, a strong girl who grows and isn't just like she has a character arc through the course of the story. And to the point when she comes back, her parents are like horrified. They're like, who is this girl? Like, oh my gosh. And there are some, like, you could make some funny moments. You wouldn't have to be all, it wouldn't have to be depressing or anything like that. But there are also going to be some really tense moments, when she's scared of the pirates and what they're going to do. And she actually kind of outsmarts them at a certain point. And there has to be kind of sort of a mutiny type thing. And so I don't know. I just think that it would be really entertaining, and I could just see them doing sort of a How to Train Your Dragon kind of a feel to pirates. Yeah. And so that's my idea.
Yeah, that's really cool. I've never heard of that book before, but
it's a mid-grade, like it's for children, but it's entertaining little book.
So it's How to Train Your Dragon.
I'm looking it up now, and it said they were planning to make a film adaptation of it directed by Danny DeVito, but it kind of got stopped and was supposed to start shooting in July 2014. But
yeah, I don't know. It just seems right for a movie. It's really old. I think it was like written in like 91 or 90. I mean, it's really old for the kind of book you would just think it would have gotten picked up. So it's kind of strange, but anyway.
Yeah, 1990. Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds like a really good fit for DreamWorks too.
Right? Yay!
Yeah.
Yay!
And since DreamWorks has already done Sinbad: Legend of the Seven Seas, so they already have some idea of ships and water and pirate-like characters to build from.
Good point.
So would this? I'm assuming this wouldn't be a musical, or it would just be just a comedy/drama adventure.
I wasn't thinking musical because I guess I have another musical pitch, but it could be a musical very easily. I could picture there was a musical called The Pirate Queen, which wasn't that good. It was by the Broadway musical, but I saw like kernels in there that had potential, and it was written by the same guys who did Les Mis, and so I think that there's potential to kind of do a story about a girl who becomes a pirate, basically.
Yeah.
You could do it that way, but you could do either way. And I think this would appeal to boys and girls because pirates.
Yeah. And before you mentioned the pirates aspect, when you were describing the film, it reminded me a lot of that Long Way North movie that came out this year.
Yeah, I did think of that when I was thinking of the pitch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and she has more. That's more of sort of an explorer kind of movie, but yeah, it's similar in certain ways, especially a strong female character and her having to kind of stand up to these sailors and stuff like that. But anyway, yeah. So she just starts out as kind of weak and a wimp, and the more she learns to kind of stand up for herself amongst all these pirates.
Nice.
So. All right. So, what is your pitch? Your second pitch, Josh?
All right. My second pitch. I don't know if either of you are familiar with the TV show Firefly.
I've heard of it.
Yeah.
Ron Glass was in it, right?
Yes. Yep. Okay. And then they made it was canceled after 13 episodes, and then they made a movie. And everybody's been clamoring for more. So I would love to bring it back as an animated show on Fox, because Fox originally aired the initial version. But you bring back Joss Whedon as writer and showrunner, and you can bring back the cast who have now gone on to bigger and better things, especially Nathan Fillion did Castle for so many years. But it would be easier to work around all these people's schedules if it's an animated film. It's a lot cheaper to produce. It was this big budget sci-fi Western TV show with big sets and on location shooting, and you can cut down on the cost a lot by getting rid of all that and doing it animated. The issue is there are characters who die in the movie. So you could theoretically set it between the series and the movie, or you could do, a couple seasons or a season before the movie and then the rest afterwards, maybe add some new cast members. But Fox already has The Simpsons and Family Guy and animated shows on their roster. This will be a drama instead of a comedy. Hopefully, it will be an hour.
Would you have a full season, or would this just be a mini series type thing?
I'd love for it to be, maybe not a full 22 episode, but 13 episode seasons. Like a fall series every year or something.
Could almost be on Netflix.
It could be. Well, I have a Netflix pitch
okay.
coming up too.
Sorry.
Good.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So what exactly is the plot of Firefly? Since I don't know about
Firefly takes place many, many years in the future, where humanity has left our solar system and gone to another solar system that's got dozens of planets and hundreds of moons that have been colonized. And there's a central government that there was a rebellion against the central government by these sort of outlying moons and planets, that the main character who runs this like cargo ship that they kind of smuggle. They do legitimate jobs, but they also do smuggling. But he fought in that, and he's sort of this like disaffected. He's lost all hope and belief and everything because his side lost. The rebellion was put down. So he runs this crew of misfits, and there's his right-hand woman was a fellow soldier, and her husband pilots the ship, and then Ron Glass plays a preacher that they pick up along the way, who sort of was moral guidance, and they have a prostitute. But it's all kind of Western. It's set on a spaceship, and it's very sci-fi, but it's stylistically Western. They all wear 6-shooters and dusters, and it's they get in gunfights, and they're hauling cattle and stuff. It's really cool show.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then there's the big mystery of the show that was resolved in the movie is they pick up these characters in the first episode where it's It's a guy who's a doctor and his sister who he's hauling in a box in like hibernation. She wakes up, but she's crazy. And they don't know what happened when it turns out that the government had experimented on her and she's got psychic abilities. And so the government's sort of after them. And so the rest of the crew is sort of brought into having to protect them. So it's got kind of a mystery aspect. And then there's kind of zombies in it. And it's really sort of genre mishmash of shows.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Sorry, I just realized that the stupid Google Hangout wasn't switching off, so I apologize. It looks like it was just on me the entire time. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Apologize.
I was seeing you guys move.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Sorry about that. I'll try to, I don't know why it started doing that. It happened on Saturday, too. Anyway, but yeah, that's interesting. Would you do 2D or CG for
I think
that?
you'd have to do 2D. It would fit with the Western sort of old style of stuff better.
We did have a comment on that in the chat room. Says, because one of those deaths I've actually not wanted any more Firefly because they killed my favorite character, LOL. So I do like his in-between idea.
Nice.
And I think there's not enough. It's like, from what I understand, it's like a year between the end of the series and the movie. So you'd have a little time to play with there in between, but I think you'd have to do stuff before and after the movie. At some point, the series would have to progress past the movie. Especially since like the big mystery of why is this girl crazy and why is the government after her has already been solved.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Nice.
All right, Mark, what's your second idea?
How many people do we have in the chat room, by the way?
We've got 2 people.
Nice. Okay, cool. Just checking. Okay. My turn now. Yes. So my second pitch is probably my least of these. I have 6 pitches here. The least of my 6 pitches, and it's a TV show also, and it would be a television series based on the books by Lewis Carroll, Alice's Adventure in Wonderland, and Through the Looking Glass. I think Alice in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass have been made into films so many times, and there's the versions people love, like the animated Disney version, and there's the ones that people either love or you hate, like Tim Burton's version. And I think when you put it into a film, there's so much stuff that happens in these books, so many different episodes that happen in the books that you have to cut out stuff. And when that happens, you sometimes get a very uneven film. So if you have a television series about this, you can spend half an hour, on, every single episode. One episode could be about her, the Cheshire Cat, one about her, the Queen of Hearts, one about her and the Mock Turtle, and there's just so much that I think could last a good 1 or 2 seasons. It could be. I am looking at it more like more aimed towards young children type of a show, and preferably 2D animation. It could with some 3D elements. Maybe you could have in the background and stuff, but preferably 2D. And I think it'll just be good because to my knowledge, I don't know if there's ever been an Alice in Wonderland television show animated, or at least any that are particularly popular. So you can correct me if I'm wrong. So that's just something I think would be interesting.
Would you have this on Disney Junior or Disney XD or?
This I wouldn't want to be with Disney. I'd want it because then you'd have to use maybe the characters and the way the characters look from the Disney versions. So I'd prefer it to be from some either some third-party television studios, maybe. I don't want to say Nickelodeon, but whatever is popular nowadays. I'm not sure whichever is the popular powerhouse for giving cartoons out. So then, yes, you can have original looks on a new Cheshire Cat, a new Mad Hatter, a new Mock Turtle, and I think there's enough information in all those 2 books to have at least a good 2 seasons worth.
Could be kind of maybe Over the Garden Wall a little bit.
Yeah, something like that. Maybe could be mini-series-ish. Because the books itself, I guess, you'd call it a mini-series in book form.
Matthew Arnhall in the chat room, he says he wants the Mock Turtle.
What's the Mock Turtle?
The Mock Turtle is a character in the book. He wants. In the 1933 version, the Mock Turtle is played by Cary Grant. So.
Was it really?
Yeah, that's.
I have to see that one.
Do either of y'all remember there was a live action Alice in Wonderland series on Disney back in the 90s? It was like Adventures in Wonderland or something like that. I used to watch it all the time. It was really good.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah. It was very silly, but it was that kind of 90s live action Disney show.
I know the 90s they had a live action Winnie the Pooh. It was like Welcome to Pooh Corner or something like that.
I remember that one too.
I found that kind of funny.
Interesting. Do you worry that people are Alice in Wonderland kind of out after Looking Glass?
What do you say?
Do you worry that people are kind of OD'd on, or kind of overdone with Alice in Wonderland after Looking Glass?
Well, that's another reason why I want this shows to bring back a love for it after that movie came out. So maybe you'd wait like 4 or 5 years and then bring out this film. This TV show.
All right. Yeah, we have Matthew says, I remember the live action show, ! 4 times.
But I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
I didn't have Disney Channel growing up. I didn't have cable growing up, actually.
I think they reran it on ABC at some point. It's like Saturday morning style.
Yes. Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. Cool. That's a very good idea. I love Alice in Wonderland, so
yeah.
When it's done right.
The episodic nature of the books.
Yeah.
They're almost little vignettes. So if she meets this character in something, it's not an overarching story.
Yeah.
So it would work really well for TV.
A TV series would work,
Yeah.
See if I can try to get it to switch around on its own. It's kind of stupid Google Hangout driving me crazy. Okay.
You found it?
It's still making me do it manually. Anyway, sorry. We'll do the best we can.
Maybe there's a settings option. I don't know.
Anyway, so we have our 3 ideas here. Matthew says Alice without the tart gate. You haven't seen Alice Through the Looking Glass, Mark, I don't think, have you?
No, not yet. I haven't. That's actually my next review on my live action blog, so I haven't seen it.
Ooh.
Don't. Just skip it.
Yeah.
I wish I could.
And this is coming from someone who loves the Tim Burton Alice. So
Yeah.
Skip it.
Yeah, there's tart gate. You'll understand when you see it.
I'd never heard it called that before.
That's what we call it.
That's the episode. That's the name of this episode right now, I guess.
Yeah. Tartgate. Okay, so this is interesting because we ended up with 2 television shows television shows facing off against each other. So we have Firefly, we have Alice in Wonderland. And then we have my idea, The True Confessions of Charlotte Doyle, the DreamWorks film. Did any of you guys have any other questions about any of these? Okay, I kind of did as we went. All right, so let's ask. I'll ask in the chat room what would you pick? All right, so Josh, which out of our 2 ideas would you pick?
I like both of them, but I'm really intrigued by Rachel's book adaptation. It's not a book I'm familiar with, but I love the idea. I love the sort of feminist, strong female character aspect. I think that'd be great.
Yay! All right, so Mark, which would you pick?
Well, I'm going to copy Josh's answer also, and I'm going with your choice too. I think that would make a great, it's especially since I didn't see Long Way North, but when I saw the trailer for Long Way North and I saw the animation style of that, I could kind of see that, a book about a sailing voyage and pirates can actually look good. And DreamWorks, hopefully they won't make it too celebrity voice casted, but I'll go with that.
All right. Woohoo. Okay.
You need a vote now.
But I will still. So I've got 2. It's interesting because I've got 2 different TV shows to pick from. I have to say I'm a little biased because I have not seen Firefly.
You should watch it.
I know.
And Matthew says Alice. He votes for Alice. I think that is where my.
Thanks, Matthew.
I think that's where my vote would be as well. I'd go for Alice. So, all right. So Mark has.
We should do this every month.
Yeah. So Mark has a win. I have a win. It's very exciting.
Josh, it's your turn next round.
Yeah.
All right. How many rounds are you doing? 4, you said?
Yes. Okay. Which should be just about perfect timing.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next one. All right, I promised you a musical was coming, and this is my musical. I think that Disney needs to do, the Disney canon needs to do a traditional fairy tale. And there's not that many left that they haven't done. But I feel like the big one that they haven't done is Rumpelstiltskin. And it's a tough one. I feel like they have to make some big changes to it to make it work, because their traditional story, they would either have to make changes, or they would have to do something that, let's see. Okay. They would have to do something that they haven't ever done, which would mean they would have, because he wants to take her baby, her firstborn, and they've never had a princess who wasn't basically like a virginal, unmarried woman. And so that would be a big difference and a big risk that they would do. And so they could go that way, or they could make it some other kind of thing that she promises him, like just her most prized possession, like maybe a family member or something. I don't know. I've been racking my brain trying to figure out how to solve that problem, because
the brother-in-law that nobody likes, he could have
that. Yeah. Oh, good. I think it's working. Yay. Okay, good. Okay. So anyway, yeah, I think that that the other problem that you would have is that the traditional story of Rumpelstiltskin, she marries the king who wants to kill her if she doesn't make the gold. But I think that you could maybe make her kind of sort of maybe realize that he was lame or something like that, and make there another male character that she then ends up kind of being the real love interest, and she kind of throws that guy to the wayside by the end, so it would still be kind of empowering. And so I don't know. It's kind of those are the challenges I admit going into this idea, but I think that the character is the lead character on Once Upon a Time. Mm-hmm. And so I think that he's a popular character. You even have him do the voice acting, and you could just sort of tone it down and maybe not make it quite as strong as the traditional fairy tale, and make it work. Or you could just sort of embrace the darkness of it all and just kind of have fun with it. And I think that the interesting choice you could make is have Peter Jackson direct it. Ooh. Because Peter Jackson has experience, obviously, with characters kind of like Rumpelstiltskin. He's directed Hobbits and Golems and stuff like that. And he's also done an animated film that was very good in Tintin. Mm-hmm. And he hasn't done anything for a while, and so since the Hobbit movies, and so it seems like a perfect kind of a thing. And you could have music you'd have like a clear villain, you'd have you'd have a king that could do a really good villain song, you'd have Rumpelstiltskin that could do a villain song, you'd have the princess that when she's trying to make gold would make a really good song, and you could have oh my gosh, my brain, Alan Menken and Stephen Schwartz, because they've done something successfully before that was a little bit darker and a little bit, and so, yeah, I think it could work.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think?
I would worry that that with Rumpelstiltskin on Once Upon a Time, and Rumpelstiltskin was in a Shrek movie, one of the Shrek movies in recent memory, that people may be, like you brought up with Alice, people may be a little worn out of Rumpelstiltskin.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, because we do have a comment from Noki Buffer who says, it's interesting. I don't know the story of Rumpelstiltskin, and I think the main reason for that is that Disney hasn't made a movie about it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of potential for it, but I would worry that people would go, "Oh, I've been watching Rumpelstiltskin on TV for the last 5 years."
Well, you see, actually, Disney did announce they were making a Rumpelstiltskin movie. They announced this like 4 or 5 years ago. It was a live-action movie, and it was called The Name Game. But they didn't tell us anything else about that, and I've not heard any other news about it since. So I don't know if that's still being planned or whatnot.
They're still probably dealing with some of these problems that make it hard. But I just feel like, what else is left? I thought you could do like the Dancing Princesses or Princess and the Pea or something like that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just feel like
Hans Christian Andersen fairy tales and read it again.
What's the one with the fiddler who plays and charms all the kids?
The Pied Piper?
Pied Piper. I thought of that, but I'm like, oh, I don't know. So it just seemed like that's the biggest fairy tale that they haven't done is Rumpelstiltskin. And so if you could get some talented writers, maybe some of the people who worked on, Tangled and Frozen and whatever, and get them to kind of work on some of these concerns, I think it could be really good.
Yeah, I think it could be good too. But
yeah,
like Josh said, maybe if Once Upon a Time wasn't around, especially then, I think that would have been the perfect time to bring it out.
That's interesting, because I was thinking that would be its biggest plus, is that, you've got this already sort of people that are interested in the character, and that, but you'd see that as a downside.
Oh, it could work that way too.
Interesting. Okay, cool.
All right. Also, I think you said Peter Jackson, he didn't work on the Tintin movie. It was Steven Spielberg who directed that.
Didn't they co-direct
Peter Jackson he produced it.
He
was going to direct the sequel.
Yeah, he's going to do the sequel, I know, yeah. But,
okay, I was thinking they co-directed it, but okay.
No, they were supposed to co-direct the third one, but they never even did the second one.
Okay, cool. Let's see, Matthew Arnold says, I actually always thought Disney should do a Hansel and Gretel for some reason of the remaining fairy tales, but Rumpy would be cool. So
I know they have silly symphonies of Hansel and Gretel.
Hansel and Gretel is such a simple story, though. There's really not. I mean, it's just they kind of leave the tracks and they get lost, and they, there's not a ton of meat there. I feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
good for one episode
with parents and stuff like that.
For like a 2-hour movie, it just feels, or 70, 80 minutes, it feels like it's a little light. Yeah. Would be my worry with Hansel and Gretel, but could be done, I guess. All right, so that's my third idea. So, Josh, what's your next idea?
All right. Well, my next one is a Netflix pitch, and we all know that eventually the Harry Potter movies are going to be remade, but just because there's money in it, and somewhere down the line somebody will do it. What I would like to see instead is a 100% faithful animated adaptation on Netflix. I'm always reading the books, and I was just listening to the finale of Prisoner of Azkaban this past week. And there's so much that gets cut out of these books to make them into movies, because it's got to be. Otherwise, they'd be 20 hours long. But you especially when you get to the finales of the books, they have these. J.K. Rowling writes these long conversations between characters where the themes of the book really get explored, and all of that's missing from the movies. But I love the movies and I think they're great, but they all have a lot of flaws, and they cut out things. Everybody's got something that was cut out that they hate that was cut out. So I'd like to see, like every episode with Netflix, you can do varying season lengths, you can do varying episode lengths. So you could do like one episode per chapter of every book, and straight. Just take the dialogue and take the description of the action and adapt it to animation. And you can get, a cast and just keep the whole cast for the entire thing.
So you wouldn't have it be any news stories. It would all be straight from the books.
Yep. And that way it's more, from my idea, an experiment to see the people who complain that, I can't believe they cut this out. I can't believe they cut this out. Would they actually sit and watch and enjoy a 100% faithful adaptation with every subplot and every conversation, and like in Prisoner of Azkaban, when they're all in the Shrieking Shack, that goes on for like 4 chapters of dialogue and explanation of how Sirius escaped from prison and all the backstory that people, it got cut out. Would people sit through 4 episodes of a TV series where there's characters in a room talking?
I wouldn't sit through it, but I know that many people would.
I mean, and I love listening to it on the audiobook. And
yeah.
I like the Jim Dale versions. He really brings the characters to life, and it's interesting and integral to the characters as they were written in the books.
Yeah,
but I'd like to sort of like force people's hand and say, okay, well, you wanted everything included. Here's everything. See if people watch it.
Yeah, it would be a huge hit. There's no doubt about it. I think it would be. Would you want the original cast? I mean,
No,
obviously you can't have Snape back, but
I think you could bring some of them maybe, but I would steer clear of like Daniel Radcliffe and Emma Watson. But like Maggie Smith would be, nobody else could do McGonagall but Maggie Smith. You bring Robbie Coltrane back. You bring some of the teachers, but start with new, and especially for the kids, bring in like experienced voice actors. I think would be a good way to go.
Man, if one of my followers was watching this, she would go completely ballistic about this idea. You would love it. So because she's a huge Potter fan. So yeah, it's definitely, it would be very popular. Would you do 2D or CG?
I think 2D. And it'll especially like the big benefits of it would be characters like Ginny Weasley, who just totally got screwed in the movies. Like,
yeah, that is so true. Just
totally abandoned by the movie, and to a certain extent, understandably, because there's only so much running time. But
that actress was flat. I think I didn't think she was very good.
I think she's good. She's really good in The Philosophers.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Matthew Arnold says, I will be honest, something like more Dobby would be cool, but there's other stuff I really don't miss. So there you go. Be interesting.
I get a bit of both. I think I'm the only one in here or in the world who hasn't ever read or seen Harry Potter things. So
definitely read them before you see them.
Yeah, definitely. They're way better books than the movies aren't terrible, but the books are way better.
When did the first movie come out? 2001?
Yep,
something like that.
So this planned TV series you have or Netflix series is going to be, so it'll be in time for the 15th anniversary of the movies.
Yeah, or 15th or 20th or
yeah.
So you would have 7 seasons?
Yep, 7 seasons. And then you could even go on and adapt to like The Cursed Child if you really wanted to. But
that would probably be the only way you could do Cursed Child.
Exactly.
Is to do it animated. And that's an interesting idea, because how else do you have them going? Because there's time travel in Cursed Child. And so how do you have them going back to their younger selves? It would make no sense. Because the actors are old.
Yep.
So interesting. Okay. So Mark, what's your third idea?
Oh, my turn. Yeah, sorry. I was looking at my list and seeing I have extras. So I want to see which one I want to say. So my third one, I guess I'm going to go with an easy cop-out answer, and it'll be a Pixar film, something they've talked about before, but I'm going to bring it up again. Monsters, Inc. 2. I know we've had Monsters University, we've had our characters back as a prequel to Monsters, Inc., but I honestly would like to see a sequel with the character Mary Boo and see how that plays out. I'm imagining her, she's an adult now, and she has her own kid, a kid of her own. And, and they're at the young age where all the parents tell their kids, there's nothing to be scared of. There's no monsters in your closet. You don't have to worry. But she's the only one in the society telling her kids, no, there actually are monsters, and they are real, and they're funny. And then it kind of shows how she doesn't get how that way of training her kid is like looked down upon by the rest of society, and to kind of push a moral of having a belief that's probably not the popular belief compared to the rest of the society. And then you could have her, somehow she'll get back to the monster world and see how things have changed, and maybe, her relationship with Sully can revive itself, and maybe they'll stop another bad guy again from taking the screams again or something. But that was my plan about that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah. So you would have the same cast and everybody return, and
Yeah, if there's still can, yeah.
Would you be concerned that Monsters University got kind of more lukewarm reception?
I don't think that would concern me because I feel if you do this sequel right, you can get a better story than Monsters University gave. So I wouldn't worry about the lukewarm reception of that.
And how old would you have Boo being in the sequel?
Well, I wanted her to be a young mother, so I don't know, maybe in her 20s or something like that.
Yeah,
so I want her
I think that would be really good.
A kid of her own who was as old as she was, at least in Monsters Inc. So I don't know, 20s I guess is a good range there.
Would it be kind of like Hook, maybe a little bit, sort of, in a way, kind of?
Oh, like how with the
an older
Williams movie?
Yeah, an older one, kind of going back to.
I don't know. I mean, it could. I wonder. I don't know if Sully and Mike will get kids of their own by then, but I don't know. It could work out that way.
I would be so curious to see how everything worked now that they're operating off of jokes, and how Monsters, how the training went, and how how you train people to be funny, and I would be sort of curious on that level too, to see what it's like.
I want to see focus test groups of monsters, testing out jokes and stuff.
Yeah, that would be really fun, I think.
Where they go to sleepovers and go, I got some new material I want to try out.
And we get caricatures of different famous comedians over the years. They could be different monsters.
Oh, that would. I mean, it's hard to.
I mean, you need to think it out a little bit more, but I mean, it's just a fledgling idea.
Yeah. Okay. It's hard to argue against Pixar, man. I mean, would you be concerned at all that people are like, oh, all they're doing is sequels?
I don't think so. I think if a sequel is good from Pixar, from anyone, people will accept it. I think the complaint is when people make sequels that generally are not quote unquote good by people.
That's true.
Like Toy Story 4, I'll admit I don't hate it, but I'm not excited about it. But if it turns out to be an amazing masterpiece, I'll gladly say it's an amazing masterpiece. I won't feel too proud to say that.
Yeah,
I feel like Finding Dory's gone a long way, probably, to helping people get over the sequel problem.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I mean, this is the biggest moneymaker of the year.
Yeah,
one of the biggest.
We're not talking about Ice Age sequels here.
Yeah, that's true.
I just saw Ice Age 5.
None of us are pitching Ice Age 6, I see.
That's my next pitch, you guys.
Can I leave now?
All right. So, okay. So, Josh, what would be your? So you have you have Rumpelstiltskin, and you have Monsters Inc. 2. Which one would you pick?
There's a lot of potential in both of them. I really like the idea of Monsters Inc. 2, especially if there was an opportunity for, Boo got caught in their world in Monsters Inc. 1. I'd love to see Mike and Sully get caught in the human world, more so than they did at the end of Monsters U, and have Boo or, adult Mary having to rescue them. So I like Mark's idea.
All right. Mark, what about you? Which one you pick? You've got
between the Harry Potter Netflix series and your Rumpelstiltskin. I guess I'll go Rumpelstiltskin. I mean, it's Disney canon. It's a musical, and like you said, we need to work the story ideas. There are some challenges to be met, but once we can overcome them, I think we can get a pretty good. I think Rumpelstiltskin could have a pretty good, cool villain song. I mean, I'm not imagining it to be something like Hellfire, but I'm imagining it more like a little bit sinister version of Mother Knows Best, something along that.
Yeah.
Something about his name, I've got a name, or something like that.
Yeah. I just want to see the lyricists make a rhyme for Rumpelstiltskin with the same meter of the name and everything.
So our Matthew Arnold, he votes, says, I find Monsters Inc. 2 the most appealing. I want to see more of Mike's relationship with Celia, actually. She says, hashtag Googly Bear and Schmoozy Poo for life. So it's tough because if I was just going on my own personal taste, then definitely I would vote Monsters 2. If I was going on what I think it would be the best one for the studio, if we're doing this like a pitch session, if I'm the studio, then I would say Harry Potter is a no-brainer. And so, I mean, I do think that they need a Harry Potter animated television show. I don't know if I feel it needs to be quite as in-depth as you suggest, Josh, but I get what you're saying to kind of call their bluff. But
well, you could only do it on Netflix. You couldn't do something that in-depth on.
Yeah, it sounds like the most boring thing in the whole world to me. But I'm not a hardcore Harry Potter
fan.
There'd
be endless episodes of them camping out in the forest. It'd be great.
It would be so bad. But what's that?
Experimental thing.
Yeah.
I remember there's this article recently about, I don't know if it's Norway or Finland, they were protesting the concept of long like user, when you install software, then you have to accept the terms of the agreement, and they're so long. So they did this thing where they just read for 24 hours straight all the lines of different user term agreements. So you can probably do something like that for Harry Potter. Just have someone act the film and continuously every single dialogue until the book's end.
Oh my gosh. It'd be like a cruel trick. Like you complained about the movies. We'll see. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll separate the wheat from the chaff. The real fans watch.
Yeah. I would definitely be separated, that's for sure. So I think I gotta go with what I personally would pick. I'm gonna go with Monsters 2. So
I got you.
Yeah. Okay. So this is good. So we have our my last pitch is for a Anna Green Gables animated film. And I think that I debated about which studio could do this one. And this is a bit of a reach, I admit, but I think the movie Epic is actually way underrated. I really liked it a lot.
I did too.
Thank you. All right.
More than I thought I would. So.
Yeah, it's not perfect. I get it. The humor doesn't quite work, but I thought that they did a good job of portraying this young girl, sort of curious girl. And so just off of that, I'm going to throw Blue Sky a bone and say, I think Blue Sky should do Anna Green Gables. And the thing about Anna Green Gables is that it is actually insanely popular all over the world. Like, it's more popular in Japan than it is even here. Like, they have all kinds of tours to Prince Edward Island in Japan. They have all kinds of, like, Studio Ghibli did a series of Anna Green Gables. It's extremely popular in Japan. I don't know about China, or other parts of Asia, but it would be very worldwide. It would have worldwide appeal. And so that is something, and obviously would be very popular with girls, but I think you could add, you certainly have Gilbert and you have other characters that could be bringing the boys. And she's such a interesting character, and she's somebody who is a kind of a wounded, hurt character. And so I think that you could write it in a way that wouldn't be just for kids. I think you could write it that it would be appealing to the adults as well. And I think that there are like 9 sequels, and so you have a franchise potential, which would be very appealing to Blue Sky, especially, who are this franchise.
Don't give them ideas.
And like all the only hard part about the franchise, I guess, is that she's an adult in the rest of them. But
okay.
Yeah. But anyway, you could do it, and I think that it would be funny, and it could be because there's really funny stories, like when she walks on top of the she walks on top of this steep hole on a bet, and she gets and there's the story where she dyes her hair green, like that would be funny. Mm-hmm. So but then there's also like sad parts that and it's just a nice sort of imagination, a world of imagination that I think you could do some interesting artistic things with for Anne. And we got a comment that says, Matthew says, Matthew Arnold says he mentioned the anime, and he says, hey, Blue Sky did Peanuts justice, which is very true. Mm-hmm. And also he says, oops, you brought up the anime. That comment is now blah, blah. So and then we had Finn68 says, as I've said before, I trust Blue Sky more than Illumination, which I definitely agree. And you don't?
No, I think I like Illumination much more than Blue Sky. I trust them better.
I feel like personally, I think that Blue Sky has made 3 pretty good films. Epic. I think they made a good movie. Well, 4, because I like Rio. I like Rio. I like Epic. I like Ice Age. And I like the Peanuts movie a lot. Yeah. Now, Illumination, I'm not that big a fan of the Despicable Me movies, but I'll say they made 2 okay movies. They made 2 fine movies. What else?
I guess I was looking more into the number of films I really hated for them. Like Illumination, there was none of the film. I don't hate any of the films.
I hate Minions. And Lorax.
But Blue's. Oh, okay, I forgot about that one. Maybe that one. But Blue Sky, I mean, when you have 5 Ice Ages, that brings up the number a little bit.
Yeah, it's true. The hate ratio is it would be interesting. So anyway, but that's what I decided, because I just think I don't think that you could. I really debated, because I just don't see DreamWorks taking on this kind of project. I don't see Disney taking on this kind of project, unless you could kind of go like a Lilo and Stitch kind of route to it. It's just not big enough for them, and I don't know. So it just seemed like the only other choice. I had to go with Blue Sky.
I never read the books or seen any of the TV shows or anything, but would you say Anne of Green Gables is similar in both tone and plot to stuff like Pollyanna and Little House on the Prairie?
Yes. I think that's a good comparison.
Definitely, yeah.
Okay, that's
especially Pollyanna.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, because Illumination, they would be totally wrong for Anne of Green Gables, I think.
Yes.
So there's just no one left. You have to go, unless you go indie. I thought about going indie, but then it's a harder pitch.
Maybe what's the studio that did Kubo?
Leica?
Yeah.
A Leica version of Anne of Green Gables.
Stop motion.
Why not?
Hey, I could picture that. I what was it? I did think of that I was thinking, that would be great with Leica. If it was a Wizard of Oz story or something. I can't remember now. It'll come to me. But yeah, so that's the one I ended up going with. I think you could have someone like a Tom Moore who did Song of the Sea, and he would do amazing job with Anne of Green Gables, but he kind of stays in Ireland, so.
Nice.
Anyway, so that's my idea. So what's your last idea, Mark?
Oh, me? Well, I have 3 of them, so I'm going to go with my favorite of the 3. I've always been interested in that almost all animated films, well, the vast majority of them have been based on our fiction, and there have been very few based on live action events and stuff. So I've been thinking about an animated movie I'd like to be made based on a live action event. And this is an event that when it happened, I thought there would be a movie made about it, very not long after, but so far no one's made a movie about it yet. But for those of you who don't, it's the 2011 Ohio Exotic Animals Release event. So I don't know if you guys remember that, but in 2011 there was a animal handler named Terry Thompson in Ohio, and he had his own personal menagerie of wild animals in his backyard. He had lions and leopards and monkeys and wolves and tigers, 50 something or 60 something animals in his personal menagerie. And he was depressed. He had debts and PTSD, and his wife left him and stuff like that. So he wanted to commit suicide. So before he committed suicide, what he did is he let all those animals loose, and he let them go loose into the city of wherever he was in Ohio. And it was a terrifying 24 hours for the citizens there and the police to catch and get all those animals. They had to kill a lot of them, and some of them that were caught were sent to the zoos afterwards. But I was thinking, since we're doing animation, I think this would be an interesting, non-kid friendly, but like maybe like a PG-13 or R-rated or PG-13, hopefully, like thriller type movie with motion capture, and the animals could be something like how we see in the Jungle Book that Disney did this year, something like that. And
yeah, I know this story really well because I have a fear of animals. Like I have a bit of an animal phobia, and that I don't know, especially wild animals and stuff. And the 9/11 calls are you have to listen to them sometime. They are so, like, I would have a nervous breakdown. Like people driving in their car and being like, on the freeway there's a lion in the middle of the freeway. I think I would crash my car. I can't imagine just like driving along and being like, oh, there is a tiger in the road. And yeah, so you got to listen to those 911 calls. They are just something else.
Yeah, I remember hearing one about a guy who was looking outside his window. He saw a tiger chasing his pet horse. Now I can just imagine seeing that image in the backyard, a tiger chasing a pet horse. But the reason I want to do this is because generally animation gets a lot of stick for being, kiddie stuff or happy endings and stuff like that. I think this film could be good because it'll be a thriller. It'll have you on your seat. It could be controversial because with the whole killing of the animals thing, so it could bring up a lot of discussion points afterwards. And it's not a particularly happy ending, quote unquote. So I think it would be a good thing to tackle. And since I'm looking for some of the motion capture, I'm thinking maybe if Robert Zemeckis decided to get back into doing that, he could be in charge of that.
Interesting. It would be really expensive. That's the only thing for a PG-13 R-rated to do motion cap would be expensive.
PG-13, yeah. So that's just my thing there.
Interesting. All right, I like it. It's very creative.
Interesting because when you mentioned the story, which I remember, my first thought was Studio Ghibli, because they did The Wind Rises, which is based on a true story, and to do something a little more, I don't want to say fantastical, but with their style of that story as an alternative.
Yeah, that would be that would be interesting to Studio Ghibli to do it. All right, Josh, what is your? That's a very creative idea. What's your idea, Josh?
Okay, Minions 2.
Oh my gosh!
Adam Sandler does the voice of all the Minions. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I think
Minions 2 with Adam Sandler.
I think they were planning Minions 2. I don't know.
My favorite actor. How did you know?
Oh, I knew. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
So my favorite animated film of all time is WALL-E. So I would love to see another WALL-E film, but not a sequel. I would like to see a prequel. So it would
interesting.
And it would have to be a hybrid live action and animation, which Pixar has never done live action beyond the one little bit in WALL-E. But you would start out with like a framing device, and you'd have like the captain sort of narrating, this is how we got to this place. This is how Earth used to be great, and we all took care of it, and it would show the story of how By and Large came to control the planet. And like the first half or the first third would be the rise of By and Large, and you could cast Fred Willard to come back as like the CEO, and then the next third would be humanity. How do we get to the point where we decide we're just going to send people into space, and then like the one third or the halfway point, you bring WALL-E in with all the other WALL-Es. And so then the second half, or the last 2/3 of the movie, would be how does WALL-E, the WALL-E that we know, end up being the last surviving WALL-E? At what point? And I've imagined sort of like they had Otto controlling behind the scenes the ship. You'd have something like Otto on the planet controlling all the robots after humanity leaves. And at some point, he gets a directive that is, just give up. Don't bother trying to clean the planet anymore, because the humanity's not going to come back. And at that point, all of the Wallys are sort of left on their own, and eventually, and you could give Wally like a companion, or you could have a team of them. They could all be different colors or something. Yeah. And then and you watch as all the other Wallys. It will be dark and it will be kind of a tragedy, but you watch as all the other Wallys die, and what keeps this one going? Why does he have hope in the face of an insurmountable task and an unwinnable game?
You could have his introduction to Hello Dolly.
Yeah, exactly. And you get him sort of, what makes him special? Why is he more interested and curious, and why does he play with all the stuff around him when none of the other robots do? And eventually, then the last shot of the movie would be Eve's shuttle coming down, and then that's when everything changed for him.
Interesting. I mean, would it be too depressing though? Because the whole civilization kind of dying and.
But you've got one robot who hangs on, who still has hope, who keeps going and keeps trying, even though the odds are insurmountable. And then we know in the end, he saves the day.
So my question would be: would this be like the first half of WALL-E and virtually dialogue free, or would it be?
No, I would say the final third of this would be like the first third of WALL-E. Okay. So you'd have once at some point as the last of the Wallys are dying, presumably they would communicate amongst themselves to a certain extent. But yeah, at some point it would just be him alone on the planet, and he meets his little cockroach buddy, and so yeah, the final third would be no dialogue and him just trying to hold on to his hope as best he can.
Oh man, I totally watched that. Yeah, that would be a tough sell.
It would be
to market, but man, I'd love it. I have to read this from Finn68. First of all, he says, as much as I wouldn't want that to happen, I expect Minions 2 to happen. Money must be made. And I said, I'm counting on it just to persecute me.
I think we're all going to be punished by that one.
Yeah. And then he also says, I have a very bizarre idea. Since DreamWorks is owned by Universal now, what if we got a Shrek Despicable Me crossover?
Oh gosh.
Interesting pitch there, thrown in there. I think that would actually be kind of fun.
I would just be curious to see how it worked out. I'd go see it just because I'd want to know how it turned out.
Yeah. I mean, because how they would get Gru and the Minions to the swamp. And I don't know what timeline. I mean, you assume that Shrek is old, but I guess it wouldn't have to be.
Or you bring Shrek. You bring Shrek to the Despicable Me world with magic or something. Yeah, I mean they're real. I guess the Minions live for like forever, basically. So they're indestructible. Yeah. Maybe that's what they were doing. Maybe that's what they were doing when they're in that cave all those years. They went and met Shrek.
I mean, we had Flintstone and Jetsons meet each other, so
why not?
I guess this isn't that far-fetched.
Did we really? That's really funny. Oh my gosh.
That was a movie or a show, yeah.
It'd be like the Star Trek Generations.
Yeah.
Okay, wow. Those are really, really good ideas. You guys both went pretty dark on your pitches. I'm feeling good about my Anne of Green Gables. Okay, so Josh, what would be your pick? Anne of Green Gables or the wildlife adult film?
I really like both of them, but I gotta go with Anne of Green Gables. It's such a great series and great stories, and I think it would be perfect. I don't know. I'm not sold on Blue Sky, but I liked Epic, so give them a shot.
All right. So, Mark, what about you? Anne of Green Gables or WALL-E prequel?
I'm gonna agree with Josh and say Anne of Green Gables as well. I think that could make a good film. The WALL-E prequel, WALL-E is not it's one of those films I don't like as much as everyone else does. So a prequel to it is not something I would be too interested in seeing, especially getting up to the beginning of the movie. But I think Anne of Green Gables is something I would go see.
All right. So, and then I'll just pick, I would pick the WALL-E prequel just because I love WALL-E. So, all right. So we have our winners. We've got Moby Dick.
Oh yeah, I forgot that.
Moby Dick, a musical. We have the True Confessions of Charlotte Doyle, pirate movie, pirate movie, and we have. Let's see, and then we have the Monsters Incorporated 2, and then the Anna Green Gables. I think those are 4 really good ideas.
Yeah, I agree.
Do. I would totally watch all of those movies.
Yeah, and I think you're kind of frozen. Like, oh, never mind, back. Never mind.
Did you get it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just kind of spastic now. It was only on one person. Now it's like flying all over the place. But anyway, but I think those are really solid ideas. I really do. And so, all right. So, how do we do this? So, because we can't do vote for, I guess, out of those 4 ideas, I guess we'll just do vote for one. I guess. Don't just vote for yourself just because it's your idea.
So you can't vote for yourself?
You can, but like actually maybe give a reason why you pick what you pick. So out of these 4 choices, I think I would go with the True Confessions of Charlotte Doyle, the pirate movie. I think DreamWorks, that would be really fun. I think it'd be really marketable. And I think it would just get them away from doing these horrible comedies, which is like, would be, if I could do anything, I think I'd wish that if I had a genie wish and be like, please, no more DreamWorks comedies.
You wish for world peace, you wish for something else, and then no more DreamWorks comedies.
But if there were no more DreamWorks comedies, we would have world peace.
True. This election will be over if it was all DreamWorks drama.
That's all you got to run on. I'd vote for any candidate if that was part of it.
Me too. I love it. That's awesome. All right. So, Josh, which one would you pick? You're the most objective because none of them are your ideas, even though your ideas were great.
Yeah,
I think they're all great. I would probably go with Moby Dick. I think I see a lot of potential for that as a musical and as an animated film, but it's a tough call. It's Moby Dick by a nose.
I do have to say, let's see. So real quick, Matthew Arnold said of our last round, he said, I'm not sure. I actually prefer WALL-E as a standalone, and I'm not super into Anna Green Gables, but my mom would probably like it. The animal things sounds like I'd need a trailer to be sold. And then, but then he says maybe the animal one. So you got to vote there, Mark, for your idea.
Maybe, yes.
Yeah, that's right. And so he says out of these 4, he would go with Monsters Incorporated too. I didn't know that Matthew was such a big Monsters Incorporated fan.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. So you go with Moby Dick. I go with Charlotte Doyle. What would you pick, Mark?
Well, I feel bad voting for myself, but I honestly do think the most potential, at least, of these 4 choices is the Moby Dick one. I think you can get a musical from it. You can get great animation with Disney animation doing the water, doing the night scenes. I still see that Hellfire type song in my head playing, and I think that's the biggest thrill. Changing Ishmael to a female character, if you want, is something that could work. I just think everything is going for that Moby Dick one.
All right, I think it's a great idea, so I have no problem with that. So Moby Dick is the winner.
All right.
Ta-da!
Congrats.
Nice.
Good job. So anyway, thanks so much for doing this. This was really fun. I really enjoyed it. Fun. It was a lot of fun. And
thanks for having us.
My backup idea, just so you know, was a Strawberry Shortcake movie. So that was my backup.
That would
my 2 backups were, one was an animated remake of The Phantom Tollbooth. If you guys remember that book, it was it's something like Alice's Adventure in Wonderland, but it's a lot more logical and mathematical. And they made an animated version in the 70s, so I wanted to they planned a remake of it, but I never heard anything back about it. But that was just one of my choices.
And that'd be good.
My other choice it wasn't a plot per se, but an idea. It was a technological advancement maybe make an entire animated feature film that would debut on something like Snapchat or something, like the first fully animated movie on Snapchat or on the virtual reality Vive or something technological like that. So more of a technological check mark than a platform.
That would be really interesting. I think that could be really good. All right. Well.
Oh, Josh, do you have any extras?
Not really. I would love to see, one of my favorite movies is Master and Commander: The Far Side of the World. It's got Russell Crowe and Paul Bettany. It's based on a series of 21 books. They're all nautical, sort of adventures set in the Napoleonic Wars. And they made one movie, and it was a big hit. It was nominated for Best Picture, but it's really expensive, and Russell Crowe is really expensive. So they have it. It was like perfect for a sequel because there's 21 books, and they never made any more. So I'd love to see that maybe as an animated series.
Yeah, I think Strawberry Shortcake, I said, is because they are so cute. I mean, they are definitely, and I think they have the nostalgia factor in for adults, and then they also have the appeal for, of course, for little girls, and you have the natural product tie-ins, toy tie-ins, of course. And I think if My Little Pony does really well, then you could see it being. And I even threw Sony a bone that they seem like the obvious choice that they would do it. So
yeah, I could see that.
So all right. Well, so where can people find you first, Josh?
thelovepirate.net is my blog. You can find me on Twitter at lovepirate77 or on Tumblr, or even on Instagram, but I don't post on Instagram. But yeah, check me out.
Awesome. And Mark?
And you guys can find me on either the Animation Commendation blog, which is markb4.wordpress.com, or my Live Action Disney Project blog, which is myliveactiondisneyproject.wordpress.com. Or you can check me out on Twitter at the_anim_com, which is a lot harder to say than spell, but you'll see it there.
Well, and I have links for all of those in the description section. And thanks to everybody who joined us in the chat room. Really appreciate it. And you can find me at Smiling LDS Girl on social media and at 54 Disney Reviews on my blog. And of course here on the YouTube channel. So thanks so much. And
thanks for having us. This is fun.
Yeah.
That's
everybody go vote.
Yes, go vote.
I did that already.
Yeah, I already voted, but yeah, if you're listening out there, go vote, and then we will all survive the next 4 years together. So, all right, sounds good, and we will have to do this again soon. It was really fun.
Yeah, it was.
So,
yeah, it was.
All right.